The shimmering scales on her neck fluttered nervously as Zalara entered the grand diplomatic chamber aboard the orbital station, Harmony Point. She had never felt so aware of her 7-foot height until now standing before the human delegation. Her species, the Vrathari, had controlled this sector of space for centuries, considering themselves the pinnacle of evolution, with their armored bodies, advanced technology, and disciplined minds. But these humans were different somehow. Zalara watched the human female named Kate Benson closely. She stood at the front of their group, small yet commanding. The human showed no fear, despite being half her size, and lacking the protective scales and enhanced strength of Vrathari biology. Her skin was soft and vulnerable, yet she carried herself with unmistakable confidence. Something about this human fascinated Zalara in ways she could not explain. The Vrathari Council had warned all diplomats about humans. They were unpredictable, dangerous, and expanding their territory too quickly. Their strange emotional nature made them impossible to understand through logical means. Zalara had been chosen for this mission because of her exceptional record for remaining detached and analytical. As she observed Kate, something stirred within her, a curiosity she had never experienced before. Kate stepped forward with a datapad in her hands. The chamber fell silent as everyone expected the standard formal greetings through translators. But Kate cleared her throat and spoke in perfect Vrathari language, shocking everyone present. Her pronunciation was flawless, even capturing the subtle chest vibrations that gave Vrathari speech its formal tone. Even Zalara could not hide her surprise, as her head crest expanded in amazement. A reaction she immediately tried to control. "We come seeking friendship, not conquest," Kate said, her golden hair catching the light as she moved. Her eyes were a shade of green unknown among the Vrathari, and they seemed to look right through Zalara. "We believe our species can benefit from each other in ways beyond simple trade agreements." The diplomatic meeting continued for hours. Kate presented compelling arguments for a trade alliance between humans and the Vrathari Empire. She spoke of shared resources, cultural exchange, and mutual defense against the mysterious threats lurking in the uncharted regions beyond. Both groups, Zalara found herself drawn to the humans' reasoning and strange emotional intelligence qualities her species often dismissed as weakness. When the formal session ended, Zalara made an impulsive decision that went against all her training. She approached Kate while other dignitaries filed out of the chamber. Kate looked up, meeting the alien's golden eyes without hesitation. This close, Zalara could see the intricate patterns in the human's irises, the tiny imperfections in her skin that somehow made her more interesting rather than flawed. Zalara spoke softly enough that only Kate could hear. "I would appreciate continuing our discussion in less formal settings." Her translator struggled with the concept, but Kate seemed to understand perfectly. The human smiled, showing those strange flat teeth that should have looked primitive but somehow did not. "May I suggest my ship's observation deck at 7th Bell? This evening we have excellent refreshments and a spectacular view." The Vrathari Council would disapprove of unofficial meetings. They controlled all diplomatic interactions with careful precision. But Zalara agreed anyway. Something about this human pulled at her curiosity in ways she had never experienced. She found herself anticipating the meeting with an eagerness that confused her. That evening, Zalara spent more time than usual preparing. She chose her least intimidating ceremonial armor with minimal spikes and a color pattern indicating scholarly rather than military achievement. She even applied a subtle scent to her scales, a practice usually reserved for genetic compatibility gatherings. She told herself it was merely to make the human more comfortable, but deep inside she knew there was more to it. The human vessel was smaller than Vrathari ships, but designed with an aesthetic beauty that Zalara found strangely appealing. Flowing lines and warm colors created spaces that felt welcoming rather than merely functional. Kate greeted her at the airlock with a warm smile. Her uniform was different now, less formal but still elegant. In a simple way, Zalara had expected the observation deck to be filled with other humans, perhaps a continuation of diplomatic talks in a different setting. Instead, she found a small private space with comfortable seating arranged to showcase a spectacular Few of the nearby nebula colors swirled across the viewport, painting the room in shifting hues of purple and blue. Kate offered her something called wine, a beverage humans apparently consumed for pleasure rather than nutrition. The concept was foreign to Zalara, whose species ate and drank solely for biological necessity. The liquid had a complex taste that changed as she analyzed it through her enhanced senses. She found herself enjoying the experience, though she would never admit it. To her superiors, they talked for hours, not about trade agreements or territorial boundaries, but about culture and philosophy. Kate asked questions about Vrathari traditions with genuine interest. No diplomat had ever shown curiosity about their ways beyond seeking tactical advantage. Do Vrathari have art? Zalara, Kate asked. We humans create things just for beauty or emotional expression. Not practical purpose. Zalara hesitated. We have precise engineering and architecture designed for maximum efficiency. Every creation serves a function. Kate smiled, looking thoughtful. What about music? Do your people create sounds for enjoyment? We have warning calls and communication tones. Zalara began, then remembered something from her early education. Before rigid training began, some Vrathari combine tones in patterns that serve no direct purpose. The practice is considered unnecessary by most. Kate's eyes lit up. That sounds like music to me. Would you share some of these tone patterns? Zalara felt strangely vulnerable, but produced a series of harmonic vibrations from her chest cavity, a sequence she had created as a juvenile before such activities were discouraged. She had never shared these sounds with anyone. Beautiful Kate whispered when she finished, would you like to hear human music in return? The sounds Kate played from the ship's system were unlike anything Zalara had experienced. Complex patterns that seemed simultaneously ordered and chaotic stirred sensations she had no words to describe. By all Vrathari understanding, she should find the noise disturbing. Instead, she found herself swaying slightly, her crest expanding in pleasure. How do Vrathari choose their mates? Kate asked after they had talked for hours. The question startled Zalara, but the human seemed genuinely curious, not invasive. We select partners based on genetic compatibility and political advantage, Zalara explained. Our genetic profiles are matched by computers to ensure optimal offspring. Emotional attachment is considered inefficient and potentially dangerous to logical decision-making. Kate looked thoughtful but not judgmental. That seems very different from humans. We value connection above all else. Finding someone whose presence makes us feel more ourselves is considered the highest form of partnership. Zalara felt something strange stir within her. We were taught humans are dangerously unpredictable because you follow emotions instead of logic. Your decisions seem random to our analysts. Kate laughed, a sound like chiming bells to Vrathari hearing. Perhaps we are. But we also discovered that logic without emotion leads to societies that forget why they exist in the first place. We build things to last because we love those who will come after us. We explore because we feel wonder. We connect because loneliness hurts. These emotions drive us forward, not hold us back. As Zalara returned to her quarters that night, she found herself processing the conversation in ways that disturbed her. Kate's words echoed in her mind, challenging foundations she had never questioned. The human's presence had awakened something dormant within her, a yearning for something beyond the structured existence she had always known. She told herself the meeting had been merely informational, a way to better understand these strange humans. But the truth was much more complicated. Zalara wanted to see Kate again, and that wanting was the most un-Vrathari feeling she had ever experienced. Their meetings continued over the following weeks. At first, Zalara justified them as diplomatic research, gathering information about humans to provide valuable insight to the Vrathari Council. But soon she anticipated seeing Kate with an eagerness that confused her. She found herself checking the time, constantly counting down to their next encounter. She even began neglecting some of her official duties to extend their discussions. Kate taught Zalara about human customs, showing her images of Earth with its diverse landscapes and cultures so different from the uniform efficiency of Vrathari worlds. Zalara learned about human music, art, and literature concepts. her people had long ago deemed unnecessary distractions from progress and order. One evening, Kate taught Zalara a human custom called dancing. Moving together to rhythmic sounds seemed pointless, yet Zalara found herself enjoying the proximity, the shared movement, the strange warmth of human touch. Kate was so small compared to her, yet showed no fear as Zalara carefully placed scaled hands on her waist, following her lead in movements that felt increasingly natural. "You move beautifully," Kate said, smiling up at her. "Your species has such natural grace. No one had ever described Vrathari as graceful. They were powerful, efficient, deadly when necessary, but never beautiful." Zalara felt her neck scales flutter in a way she hadn't experienced since adolescence, before emotion control became second nature. Back among her kind, Zalara began questioning traditions she had never before doubted. She noticed the emptiness of relationships based only on advantage, the cold calculations behind every interaction. She saw how innovation stagnated without passion, how art and beauty were missing from her worlds, leaving only function without joy. Her superiors noticed the changes in her reports. They became concerned when she suggested incorporating human viewpoints into Vrathari policy. When she advocated for cultural exchange programs, her loyalty was openly questioned. Commander Trazak, her direct superior, summoned her to his chamber. "You spend too much time with these humans," he said, his scales darkened with disapproval. "They are corrupting your thought patterns. They're emotional. Instability is contagious." "I am simply gathering information," Zalara replied, maintaining a neutral tone. Though deep inside she felt a defensive anger she had never known before. "They have technological innovations we could benefit from. Different perspectives often reveal solutions." "We might miss." Trazak loomed over her, his massive form blocking the light. "Their emotional thinking is precisely why they remain inferior. Their science is chaotic, their society disorganized. They survive through luck, not design. Do not allow yourself to be contaminated by their primitive ways." Zalara wanted to argue that human emotion didn't make them weaker, but stronger. Their connections to each other drove them to incredible achievements, gave them resilience and creativity the Vrathari lacked. But she knew such thoughts would only confirm Trazak's suspicions. Instead, she lowered her head in the traditional gesture of compliance. The following day she was informed that her diplomatic access had been restricted. She would no longer participate directly in human interactions, but would instead analyze reports from other diplomats. The message was clear. She was being isolated from human influence, specifically from Kate. That night she sent a message to Kate, explaining her absence. The human responded immediately, asking to meet one final time. Zalara knew she should refuse, but found herself agreeing. They arranged to meet in a rarely used observation pod attached to the diplomatic station, a place where surveillance was minimal. Kate arrived looking concerned, her expressive face showing worry without the controlled masks Vrathari always wore. "Are you in trouble because of our meetings?" Zalara tried to maintain professional distance. "My superiors believe I have been spending too much time studying human culture." She hesitated, then added, "They think your species' emotional nature is dangerous." Kate stepped closer, looking up at Zalara with those green eyes that seemed to see everything. "And what do you think?" The question hung between them, loaded with meaning. Zalara had asked herself the same thing repeatedly in recent days. The disciplined, logical part of her mind knew her superiors were right by Vrathari standards. She was becoming compromised, allowing herself to be influenced by human thinking. But another part of her, the part that came alive in Kate's presence, felt she was becoming more, not less. "Think," Zalara said slowly. "I have learned things about your species that contradict our assumptions. I think there is value in your different perspective." Kate smiled, that smile that always made Zala's heart rate increase. A physiological reaction she could no longer control. "And have you learned anything about yourself?" The question struck at the core of Zalara's internal conflict. Before meeting Kate, she had never questioned her place, her purpose, her identity. She had been a perfect Vrathari, logical, disciplined, devoted to the collective good of her species. But now, "I am uncertain," she admitted. The word itself felt like surrender to a Vrathari who was trained from birth to project confidence and certainty. I find myself questioning things I never questioned before. Kate reached out slowly, giving Zalara time to move away if she wished, and placed her small warm hand on Zalara's armored forearm. That isn't weakness, you know. Questioning is how we grow. The touch sent unexpected sensations through Zalara's nervous system. Her scales rippled involuntarily in response. She should pull away, maintain proper distance, but she couldn't bring herself to break the contact. I have something for you, Kate said, reaching into her pocket. She withdrew a small device. It contains human literature, music, and art. I thought you might want to continue learning about us even if we can't meet. Zalara took the device carefully, their fingers brushing in the exchange. Thank you, she said, knowing the words were inadequate for the emotions churning inside her. This gesture is friendship, Kate supplied, with a gentle smile. That's what we call it when we care about someone and want them to be happy. Friendship. The concept existed in Vrathari language, but in a limited form, describing tactical alliances or mutually beneficial arrangements. Never this warm personal connection Kate described. This was something different, something forbidden. They talked for hours that night, sharing more openly than ever before. Zalara revealed childhood memories of wondering about the stars before being taught. That wonder was inefficient. Kate spoke of her home, a place called Minnesota with lakes and changing seasons. Zalara found herself imagining this place she had never seen, feeling a strange longing to experience it. When it was time to part, they both knew it might be their last meeting. Kate surprised Zalara by stepping forward and wrapping her arms around her in what humans called a hug. The embrace was gentle, careful of the Vrathari's sharp edges but full of emotion. Zalara stood frozen, uncertain how to respond to this alien gesture. Don't forget what's inside you. Kate whispered, her breath warm against Zalara's scales. Logic and emotion aren't enemies. They're partners. Trust yourself. After Kate left, Zalara returned to her quarters. Her mind in turmoil, she examined the data device, finding it filled with human creativity. Shakespeare and Basho quantum physics explained through dance, ancient myths, and modern music, paintings and photographs of Earth in all its messy, beautiful diversity. She spent the entire night absorbing it all, feeling further from her Vrathari identity with each new discovery. The Vrathari High Command grew increasingly suspicious of her changing perspectives. She was called to mandatory re-education sessions where instructors reinforced the superiority of Vrathari logic over human emotion. She was required to recite the ancient codes of conduct, praising their perfect rationality. She performed as expected, but the words rang hollow in her mind. During one session, the instructor activated a view screen. Earth appeared, its blue oceans and swirling clouds looking fragile from space. Behold the human homeworld, the instructor said. This chaotic planet produces equally chaotic beings. Their emotions make them unpredictable. Therefore, dangerous. We must approach them with caution. Zalara looked at the beautiful world and thought not of danger, but of Kate, walking beside lakes of dancing to music, of the countless creative expressions humans had developed. She saw not chaos, but wonderful, complexity, not weakness, but different kinds of strength. And in that moment she knew she could never go back to thinking as she had before. 1 week later she was summoned before the full Vrathari Council. The chamber was designed to intimidate, with towering ceilings and raised platforms where 7 ancient Vrathari looked down upon her. Their scales had faded with age, but their eyes remained sharp with intelligence, cold with judgment. Zalara of the scientific caste. The eldest spoke her formal designation, echoing in the vast space you have been observed exhibiting concerning behavioral patterns. Your association with the human-designated Catherine Benson has resulted in ideological contamination. Your latest reports contain unacceptable deviations from established doctrine. Zalara stood tall, knowing what was coming. We have received new information about humans, she said, keeping her voice steady. They are more complex than our initial assessments indicated. Their emotional capacity creates advantages we had not previously considered. Silence fell heavy in the chamber. Then the eldest spoke again. You are compromised. Your mind has been corrupted by human influence. You will undergo complete reconditioning. All memories of human contact will be purged, your functions will be reassigned. Reconditioning would begin at first light. Zalara was escorted to a holding cell to await the procedure. Guards positioned themselves outside, though escape had never occurred to her before. Where would a Vrathari go in a society where every individual was tracked, catalogued, and assigned specific functions for the greater good, alone in her cell? Zalara touched the small data device Kate had given her, still hidden in a compartment of her armor. She had memorized much of its contents, but the object itself represented something more, a connection to Kate and everything she had come to value. She made her decision quickly before logic could override the feeling guiding her. She activated her communication implant, sending a short encrypted message to Kate's private channel, then destroyed the evidence. Sleep was impossible as she waited, wondering if Kate would receive her message, if she would understand, if she would even care. Vrathari did not have friends as humans defined the concept. Would Kate risk anything for her, or had Zalara misinterpreted everything between them? The uncertainty was almost unbearable for a being raised on absolutes. Dawn approached, bringing with it the heavy footsteps of guards coming to escort her to reconditioning. Zalara prepared herself for resistance, though she knew it was futile. Vrathari guards were equipped with neural disruptors specifically designed to incapacitate without permanent damage. She would be conscious but helpless as they erased everything. That made her the person she had become. The door slid open, but instead of guards, Zalara was shocked to see Kate standing there, her small form silhouetted against the corridor lights. Behind her lay two unconscious Vrathari guards, their massive bodies crumpled on the floor. "We need to move fast," Kate whispered, urgency in her voice. "The security systems will reset in 3 minutes." Zalara stepped forward, confusion and hope battling within her. "How did you?" Kate grinned, that human expression that always fascinated Zalara. "I have friends too." She held up a device. "Your message said they planned to erase your memories. I couldn't let that happen." They moved quickly through the corridors, Kate leading with surprising confidence. The human carried what appeared to be a modified Vrathari neural disruptor, explaining how she had overcome the guards. Despite her small size, Kate moved with purpose and skill, navigating the complex station, as if she had memorized its layout. They encountered 2 more guards, but Kate dispatched them efficiently before they could sound alarms. The human was surprisingly effective in combat, despite her fragile appearance. Her movements were unpredictable, but precise. Another contradiction that challenged Vrathari assumptions about human capabilities. They reached a maintenance airlock near the outer hull. Kate produced a small communication device. "My ship is waiting," she explained. "But once we leave, you can't come back. The Vrathari will declare you a traitor. I need to know this is what you really want." Zalara hesitated. Her entire existence had been dedicated to serving her species, to maintaining her place in the perfect order of Vrathari society. To abandon that was to lose everything: her position, her identity, her world. But staying meant losing something she had only just discovered herself. "I cannot be what I was before." Zalara said the words, feeling like both surrender and liberation. "I choose to leave," as they prepared to exit through the airlock. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. Kate cursed a human expression Zalara had learned meant something had gone wrong. "They found us sooner than expected," she said, working quickly to override the airlock controls. "We need to hurry." The inner door closed behind them as the outer door began its cycle. But before it could complete, emergency override protocols engaged. Kate frantically worked the controls, but security measures were locking her out. The airlock began to repressurize as Vrathari. "Security protocols activated. They're going to trap us in here." Kate said, "The door behind us will open and security forces will be waiting." Zalara assessed their options with the analytical mind that had made her a valued diplomat. The airlock was designed with multiple redundancies to prevent exactly the kind of escape they were attempting. But there was one possibility. She moved to a maintenance panel and removed it, revealing emergency systems. "What are you doing?" Kate asked, watching as Zalara's clawed fingers moved across unfamiliar controls. "Something dangerous," Zalara replied. If I override the environmental seals, the emergency protocols will trigger automatic decompression. The outer door will open, but will be exposed to vacuum. Kate said, alarmed. For approximately 3 seconds, Zalara confirmed. Enough time for emergency evacuation procedures to engage. Not enough to cause permanent damage to either of us if we prepare properly. She hesitated. Can your human physiology withstand brief vacuum exposure? Kate looked uncertain but determined. Yes, for a few seconds if I must. Zalara worked quickly, explaining as her claws manipulated the controls. Verthari bodies are more resistant to pressure changes than humans. They'll shield you as much as possible. You must exhale completely before decompression occurs. Do not attempt to hold your breath. The pressure differential will damage your lungs. Kate nodded, following Zalara's instructions. The human showed remarkable trust, placing her life in Zalara's hands without hesitation. Such trust was unknown among Verthari, where even allies constantly evaluated each other for signs of weakness or advantage. The realization strengthened Zalara's resolve. Security forces reached the inner airlock door, beginning override procedures. Zalara finished her preparations, pulling Kate close against her body, using her larger form and armored scales to create a protective cocoon around the human. The countdown began. 3. Zalara said. Kate exhaled completely. 2. She activated the override. 1. She tightened her protective embrace. The airlock explosively decompressed. The outer door blew outward as emergency systems detected the catastrophic failure. Zalara felt the vacuum pull at her scales, the moisture on her skin crystallizing instantly. Kate went rigid in her arms but did not struggle, trusting Zalara's protection. They were propelled into space, the force throwing them clear of the station. Zalara oriented herself quickly, spotting the small human vessel waiting nearby. Its emergency retrieval system activated powerful tractor beams, locking onto their biosignatures, pulling them towards safety. The seconds in vacuum stretched eternally. Kate remained conscious, but Zalara could feel the human's body temperature dropping dangerously. Verthari could survive longer in space, their biology evolved for harsh conditions, but humans were more vulnerable. She shifted her body, keeping Kate as sheltered as possible, willing the retrieval system to work faster. They passed through the ship's emergency field atmosphere, suddenly enveloping them. Zalara felt Kate gasp, drawing desperate breath. The human vessel had anticipated their arrival. Medical protocols activating automatically. Warm air flowed around them as gravity stabilized. Are you injured, Zalara? Asked, examining Kate with concern. The human skin had paled slightly, her lips tinged blue from oxygen deprivation, but her eyes remained alert. Kate coughed, then managed a smile. Just another day at the office, she said, her voice hoarse. An incomprehensible human idiom, but her tone suggested humor. The ship shuddered as weapons fire from the station glanced off its shields. A human voice came over the communication system. Captain, we need to leave immediately. Verthari cruisers are launching. Kate stood with Zalara's help, moving quickly to the bridge. Zalara followed, marveling at the human's resilience. The bridge was compact, efficient, yet somehow welcoming in a way Verthari ships never were. A small crew of humans worked at various stations, all turning to stare as Zalara entered. Most had likely never seen a Verthari up close before. Punch it. Amy. Kate ordered a human female at the navigation controls. Maximum speed. The ship accelerated, rapidly, artificial gravity compensating for the sudden movement. View screens showed the Verthari station receding behind them, pursued by several patrol vessels. Zalara watched her former home grow smaller, feeling a complex mix of emotions. She had no names. For loud alarm sounded through the bridge. Jump gate activating ahead. Amy called, her fingers dancing across controls. Verthari ships are attempting to cut us off. We can't outrun a blockade, Kate said grimly. Is the secondary plan ready? Ready, but untested, Amy replied. We don't know if it'll work. Kate turned to Zalara, her expression serious. We have a modified jump gate technology, she explained. Our engineers adapted it from studying Verthari designs. It's experimental, not fully tested. Zalara understood the implications. Jump gate technology created artificial wormholes through spacetime, allowing faster-than-light travel. But each gate was precisely calibrated for specific destinations. Experimental modifications meant unpredictable, results possibly catastrophic ones. "What are our alternatives?" Zalara asked, already knowing the answer. Kate shrugged, another human gesture. "Surrender and hope for mercy. The Vrthari do not offer mercy to traitors," Zalara stated simply. "Then we jump," Kate said. She turned to her crew. "Make the preparations." Zalara watched as the humans worked together with remarkable coordination, despite the tension. Each seemed to anticipate the other's needs, communicating in abbreviated terms with occasional humor. Even facing possible death, they maintained connections to each other. Zalara had never witnessed anything like it among her own kind. The view screens showed Vrthari cruisers moving to surround them, cutting off escape routes. Their weapons were powering up communication channels, demanding immediate surrender. The humans ignored these, focusing entirely on their experimental jump technology. Earth was nothing like Zalara had imagined, despite all she had learned from Kate. The sheer diversity overwhelmed her senses. Cities sprawled chaotically across landscapes, forests, and oceans, stretched between settlements, and everywhere humans. Billions of them, each different, each individual in ways no Vrthari would consider acceptable. The concept of embracing variation, rather than eliminating it for efficiency, remained alien to her. The diplomatic compound where she was housed provided some respite from the sensory overload, high walls and closed gardens designed to offer comfort to non-human visitors. Kate had arranged quarters specially modified for Vrthari physiology, higher ceilings, reinforced furniture, environmental controls, adjusted for her preferred temperature and humidity. It was a thoughtful gesture, one that touched Zalara deeply. Human officials debriefed her extensively about Vrthari culture, military capabilities, and political structures. She provided information freely, though careful not to reveal anything that might lead to harm. Knowledge for mutual understanding, not tactical advantage. Kate attended most sessions, acting as both translator and advocate, ensuring questions remained respectful. What surprised Zalara most was how the humans treated her. Not as a defector to be exploited or a curiosity to be studied, but as a person with rights and dignity. She was offered choices about where to live, what to eat, even what to wear. Concepts that had never existed in her strictly regimented life. Kate visited, often bringing books, music, and recordings of human performances. Each cultural offering opened new worlds to Zalara. She discovered preferences she never knew she could have, enjoying some human creations more than others. The very concept of personal taste was revolutionary to someone raised to value only function and efficiency. One evening, Kate brought a small group of friends to Zalara's quarters for what humans called a dinner party. The gathering included Amy from the ship, a scientist named Lily, who studied xenobiology, and Patty, a diplomat who worked with non-human species. Zalara had expected professional interest, perhaps polite curiosity. Instead, she found genuine warmth as they shared a meal specially prepared to accommodate both human and Vrthari nutritional needs. "Do you miss your home?" Lily asked as they sat in the garden afterward. Stars visible through the transparent dome overhead, Zalara considered the question. The Vrthari do not encourage attachment to places, she began, then stopped herself. That was the old training speaking. "Truthfully, I miss certain things. The resonance chambers where sound echoes in perfect harmony, the crystal forests in the northern hemisphere." The predictability, she added with what she had learned, was humor. The humans laughed, appreciating her attempt at their form of social bonding. Kate smiled at her encouragingly. Zalara felt a now familiar warmth seeing that expression she had learned. Many human emotions, but what she felt for Kate remained complex beyond simple categorization. "But you don't regret leaving?" Patty asked. Her role as diplomat made her more direct than the others. Zalara looked at the stars, trying to identify the distant point where her homeworld would be. "I cannot be what they demanded anymore," she said simply. "The price was too high." The conversation shifted to lighter topics, human customs and experiences they wanted to share. Music played softly in the background. The humans included Zalara naturally in their interactions, asking her opinions, valuing her perspective. The evening was unlike anything in Vrathari society where gatherings served specific purposes, efficiency always the primary concern. This casual sharing of time and experience for no purpose beyond connection still felt strangely indulgent, yet increasingly right. Later, after the others had left, Kate remained helping clear away the remnants of their meal. "You seem to enjoy yourself tonight," she observed. "I did," Zalara admitted. "It is still strange to simply spend time with others without purpose." But Pleasant Kate looked at her thoughtfully. "Everything has purpose, Zalara. Connection is perhaps the most important purpose of all the following." Weeks brought new challenges as Zalara began working with Earth's diplomatic corps. Her unique perspective as both a former Vrathari diplomat and someone who understood human values made her invaluable in developing strategies for peaceful relations. She found herself advocating for understanding, rather than advantage, teaching humans about her species, while learning more about humanity in return news from Vrathari space was concerning. Their leadership had declared Zalara a traitor, her name removed from all records, her existence officially erased. More troubling were reports of increasing militarization. Vrathari fleets were mobilizing along borders, their rhetoric becoming more aggressive. The diplomatic channels Kate had worked so hard to establish were closing one by one. Zalara was summoned to a high-level meeting at Earth Command, a massive complex beneath the Rocky Mountains, designed to withstand even the most devastating attacks. Kate joined her as they descended into the facility, passing through multiple security checkpoints. Zalara's presence still drew stares from human personnel, unaccustomed to seeing a Vrathari walking freely in their most secure installation. The briefing room contained the highest-ranking human, military, and diplomatic leaders. They stood as Zalara entered, a sign of respect she had come to recognize. The mood was grim. Faces set in expressions she had learned indicated serious concern. Admiral Chen, a compact woman with silver hair, addressed the room without preamble. "Our intelligence indicates the Vrathari High Command has authorized development of a new weapon system." She activated a holographic display showing technical specifications. "The details are limited, but it appears to be a planet killer designed to render worlds uninhabitable without destroying valuable resources." Zalara studied the information, recognizing components from theoretical weapons research she had heard mentioned in her previous life. The Vrathari had always maintained such technologies were purely defensive deterrents, never intended for actual use. But the evidence suggested otherwise. "This is consistent with Vrathari doctrine," Zalara confirmed. "When they determine a species cannot be controlled, they believe elimination is the only logical option." She felt a deep shame acknowledging this truth about her people. "So we're looking at potential genocide," Admiral Chen said bluntly. Her eyes were hard, but not cruel, merely realistic. The Earth representative to the Galactic Council spoke next. "Have we attempted renewed diplomatic contact? All attempts have been rejected," Kate answered. "We received the same automated message. Negotiations have concluded. They won't even acknowledge our communications." "What are they waiting for?" someone else asked. "Why develop a weapon but not deploy it?" Zalara understood Vrathari's strategy all too well. They are methodical. Their analysts will be calculating optimal timing, minimizing potential counterattacks, identifying priority targets. She hesitated, then added, "They will also be studying human behavior, seeking predictable patterns, weaknesses to exploit." The room fell silent as the implications became clear. The Vrathari were preparing for a war of extermination conducted with the same cold efficiency they applied to everything, and they would not act until they were certain of success. "Can we stop them militarily?" Admiral Chen asked, looking directly at Zalara. Zalara considered the question carefully, knowing lives depended on her assessment. Vrathari military technology exceeds Earth capabilities in most areas. Their defenses are highly advanced, their tactics refined over centuries of conflict. However, she added, they have vulnerabilities. Their rigid adherence to established doctrine makes them predictable. Their hierarchical command structure creates points of failure, and they consistently underestimate species. They consider emotionally driven. They will not expect creative solutions. The meeting continued. For hours, Strategies proposed, analyzed, discarded. Zalara contributed her knowledge of Rathari weaknesses, while human military minds developed increasingly innovative approaches to exploiting them. It was a remarkable collaboration, logic, and creativity, working in tandem as they left the facility. Kate was unusually quiet, her normal enthusiasm dampened by the gravity of their situation. They walked through the underground corridors toward the surface, neither speaking. Finally, Kate stopped, turning to face Zalara. Sorry?" she said softly. Zalara tilted her head in confusion. "For what? For bringing you into this? For making you choose between your people and us?" Zalara considered the apology, finding it unnecessary. "I made my own choice. Kate," I continue, "to make it." She reached out carefully, touching the human shoulder with scaled fingers. "The Verthari I left behind are not the people I wish them to be. They are what centuries of suppressing emotion and connection have made them. I grieve for them, but I cannot condone their actions." Kate placed her hand over Zalara's, the warmth of her touch now familiar and welcome. "Sometimes I wonder if things would be different if we had never met." The question held impossible complexities. What if scenarios that could never be proven? Zalara had learned that humans often dwelled in such imaginary alternatives, finding comfort or pain in roads not taken. The Vrathari mind preferred certainty, the absolute reality of what was not, what might have been. But she had changed enough to consider the question. "If we had never met, I would still be there," she said. "Among them, but never truly of them. Your friendship showed me what was missing, not created the absence I felt it before you. Even if I had no words for it. You helped me find my own truth, Kate, not impose yours upon me." The plan came together with remarkable speed once Earth Command accepted the necessity. Despite objections from military leaders who distrusted sending their most valuable intelligence asset back into enemy territory, the logic was irrefutable. Only Zalara had the knowledge and capability to attempt the mission. Kate fought hardest against the decision, but eventually conceded when no viable alternative emerged. A small stealth vessel was prepared, modified with Vrathari technology based on Zalara's specifications. It would bypass standard detection systems, allowing her to approach her homeworld undetected. The difficult part would come after landing, when she would need to infiltrate the most secure facility in Vrathari space with nothing but her knowledge and courage. The night before departure, Zalara sat in her quarters, meditating as she had been taught since childhood, seeking the perfect calm that had once been her constant state. But inner peace eluded her emotions. She had discovered among humans now colored her thoughts. Hope, fear, determination, and something deeper connected to Kate. A chime announced a visitor. Zalara already knew who it would be. "Come in," she called. Kate entered carrying a small package. Her eyes were shadowed with fatigue and worry, but she smiled seeing Zalara. "I brought you something," she said, placing the package on the table between them. "A going-away present. Though I expect you to bring it back." Zalara opened it carefully, finding a small device similar to the one Kate had given her long ago when they first parted. "This one is different," Kate explained. "It contains quantum-entangled particles linked to a matching device I'll keep. The connection can't be traced or blocked by any known technology. When you're ready to be extracted, activate it and we'll find you, no matter where you are." The gift represented remarkable technology, but Zalara understood. It was far more than that. It was a promise, a connection, a refusal to accept that they might not see each other again. "Thank you," she said simply. Kate sat beside her closer than Vrathari custom would allow, but Zalara had grown accustomed to human proximity, even welcomed it. The warmth of Kate's presence provided comfort words. "Could not I keep thinking about something you once told me," Kate said, looking at the stars visible through the skylight. "About how Vrathari choose partners based on genetic compatibility and advantage." Zalara remembered the conversation, one of their first meaningful exchanges. How humans valued connection above calculation. It had seemed strange then. Now she understood. "Do Vrathari ever choose differently?" Kate asked, her voice soft. "Do they ever just follow their hearts, Zalara considered her knowledge of Vrathari history. There are stories, she said, ancient records from before the Great Rationalization, when our species still embraced emotion alongside logic, tales of bonds formed through choice rather than calculation. But such things are considered myths now, products of a less evolved time. And what do you believe? Kate asked. Her eyes met Zalara's, holding a question deeper than words could express. I believe, Zalara said slowly, choosing each word with care, that I have learned there are many kinds of evolution. Not all progress moves in a single direction. My people chose a path of perfect logic, abandoning what they considered weakness, but in doing so, they lost something essential. Something I have rediscovered among humans. Kate moved closer, still her hand finding Zalara's, their fingers intertwining scales against soft skin. Come back to me, she whispered. Promise me you'll try. Zalara made no promises she could not keep. The mission's chances were calculated at less than 20% survival. But looking at Kate, she found herself speaking from that newly discovered part of herself. I will find my way back to you. The launch occurred before dawn, Zalara departing without ceremony. The small vessel slipped away from Earth, accelerating rapidly before engaging its experimental drive. Based on Vrathari technology but modified by human engineers, it created a unique signature that would not register on standard monitoring systems. The journey took 7 days, giving Zalara time to prepare mentally for what lay ahead. She reviewed security protocols, memorized access codes, and planned contingencies, but she also spent hours in meditation, this time not seeking emptiness, but exploring the emotions she had discovered among humans, understanding what drove her now, what she fought to protect. Approaching Vrathari space, she activated the ship's cloaking systems. The familiar star patterns of home emerged on view screens. Beautiful despite everything, Zalara felt unexpected longing, seeing the crystalline rings surrounding her homeworld, the great orbital stations where she had lived and worked, the familiar patterns of security vessels patrolling precise formations. Landing required all her skill and knowledge. Utilizing maintenance codes that changed on predictable cycles, she guided the ship into a remote facility used for waste processing. Atmospheric processors masked her thermal signature as she emerged, wearing adapted Vrathari armor, designed to conceal her identity. Her plan relied on knowledge of shift rotations, security blind spots, and the predictable patterns of a society devoted to order. Moving through familiar corridors felt surreal. Vrathari passed her without suspicion, her modified armor identifying her as maintenance cast low priority, barely worth notice. The rigid hierarchy that had once seemed natural now appeared as a weakness. The system could not conceive of someone moving between castes, changing identity, challenging order itself. The central, command complex loomed before her, its crystalline spires reaching toward space housing, the leadership that guided all Vrathari society. Approaching the main entrance would mean immediate detection. Instead, Zalara accessed maintenance tunnels, her former security clearance combined with codes gleaned from careful observation, allowing her to bypass primary security. The weapons control center lay at the heart of the complex, protected by layers of security, both technological and physical. Zalara moved carefully, patience her greatest ally. She had planned this mission, understanding Vrathari psychology, knowing her people valued efficiency over imagination, following protocols precisely without ever questioning why those protocols existed, exploiting the blind spots created by absolute certainty. 3 days she moved through the complex, working from shadow to shadow, resting in abandoned service areas, slowly approaching her target. The planet killer weapon was scheduled for deployment. Within the week, final preparations were underway. Technicians working around the clock, calibrating systems, preparing to unleash destruction on a scale never before seen. On the 4th day, she reached the primary control chamber, its entrance guarded by elite warriors. Their massive forms encased in ceremonial armor, neural disruptors ready. The chamber beyond contained the targeting systems, the key to disrupting the weapon. Zalara studied the guards, noting their positions, the rhythm of their movement, seeking any weakness. There was none. The security was perfect exactly as protocols demanded, without deviation or imagination. Exactly as she had expected, she activated a maintenance protocol on a nearby system, creating a cascade failure. In environmental controls, alarms blared as atmosphere began venting from adjacent chambers. Not enough to cause serious damage, but sufficient to demand immediate response. Following perfect protocol, the guards dispatched one of their number to investigate, maintaining reduced but adequate coverage. Solara waited until the remaining guards focused on incoming security alerts. Then she moved. Not toward the entrance, but toward a maintenance panel nearby. Opening it, she accessed environmental systems, not to create another diversion, but to utilize a feature known only to highest security personnel. Emergency override protocols designed for council members to escape in case of catastrophic failure. The panel slid aside, revealing a narrow passage. Solara slipped through, entering the control chamber through a route not listed in any security briefing. The room beyond was empty of personnel, automated systems handling final calibrations. The targeting interface glowed with projected coordinates. Earth was at the center. The primary target surrounded by human colonies, secondary objectives. Solara moved quickly, accessing the command console. Her former authorization codes had been purged, but she had not come expecting to use them. Instead, she connected the device Kate had given her, modified by Earth engineers to interface with Vrathari systems. It contained a virus unlike anything her people had encountered, combining logical precision with creative unpredictability, a human creation designed to think in ways Vrathari systems could never anticipate. The virus deployed silently, infiltrating targeting systems, corrupting calibration data. The weapon would still activate, but its energies would be redirected back into Vrathari space. Not at populated areas. Solara had insisted on that, targeting uninhabited moons instead. The demonstration would be clear. The weapon was flawed, dangerous to its users. Any deployment would risk similar catastrophic feedback. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the complex security systems, finally detecting the intrusion. Solara completed the upload, disconnecting the device and concealing it. The damage was done. The virus embedded too deeply to be removed without dismantling the entire weapons system, a task that would take months. She had succeeded, but escape now seemed impossible. Armed guards would flood the complex within minutes. The maintenance passage remained her only option. She slipped back through the narrow opening, hearing heavy footsteps approaching from the main entrance just as the panel slid closed behind her.